Hey everyone, Robert here, author of Expansion Mastery, the practical guide to living a fully engaged life. Are you ready to start living your life to the fullest? Are you ready and willing to transform yourself and your life from ordinary to extraordinary? Are you ready to live in a world of expansion instead of contraction? Welcome, my friends, to the Fully Engaged Life. Welcome back to the show, everyone, and welcome to part 2 in this new series where we are discussing the nature of life in regards to the duality of expansion and contraction. If you haven't listened to the previous episode, I strongly recommend you do so. That gives you kind of the foundation where I laid the groundwork for what we are exploring here. And the idea is to understand more about life. We understand here life in this physical, what we perceive as reality, is based on duality. And we are zeroing in on the aspects of expansion and contraction in order to understand our lives and in order to understand more of what the idea of expansion is actually all about. Now, what does this have to do with anything? What does it matter? Well, through understanding this and then applying your awareness of it to your life, you have the ability to live a more fully engaged life. And that's the goal. Now, in my book, Expansion Mastery, I talked at length of experiences and the importance that experiences play in our life. So today, what I would like to do is look at this idea of expansion and contraction through experiences. So we're going to examine the idea of expansive experiences and contracting experiences. And the whole idea is this: if we don't consciously choose our experiences in terms of expansion and contraction, then the experiences we have in life will simply be happening to us. We won't even be aware of whether they're having an expansive or contractive type of influence on us. So when we are consciously aware of our experiences, which we are able to attain through the development of mindfulness, that ability to be consciously aware of your experience is expansion. When we are unaware of the experiences, in other words, life is just happening to us, that then is contraction. Allow me to explain a little bit more clearly on this. When we are consciously creating, or co-creating if you wish, our experiences, when we are consciously aware, we have focused our intention on the experience that we desire to have, that is expansion. And one way it's expansion is because we are sending that conscious vibe out into the world. But it's also an experience where when you consciously create it, you can factor in aspects of learning and of exploration and of meeting new people, having new experiences. See, all of that is expansion. Just by way of example, when my wife and I travel, we generally spend time beforehand learning the language. We investigate things in the area we're going to be, museums and things like that, other areas of interest. We get to the desired location And we explore everything. We talk to people. We have experiences there with people, getting to know them and ask them questions about where they live and what is common there and all of these things. All of that allows us to expand. And one way to know that this sense of expansion is actually taking place is because after that experience, such as traveling to some other country or state or whatever you might want to do, you start to incorporate some of the aspects of that trip into your normal life. In other words, it affects you so deeply, and you expand by now incorporating maybe some particular customs, maybe something they like to wear, something they like to eat, something like that. For instance, after going to Spain, my wife and I love jamón ibérico. We eat that any chance we get, and it's not readily available in the United States, but you can find it. So that's something that we never knew existed before. We went and had this experience, and through the expansion of that experience, we learned about its existence. We got to actually taste it and enjoy it, and then even after that experience is over, we get to still have that in our life and enjoy it whenever the occasion allows. By contrast, then, an experience that leads to contraction would be, even if you take a trip somewhere, you try to force everything you do normally, the way you do it at home, you try and force it in some other place. In other words, you won't leave your comfort zone even when you travel somewhere else. You won't deviate from your usual routine and your usual likes. And see, this is very contracting. You are not expanding. Because of this, you'll have many things take place within the experience, but you're not even conscious that they're happening. You won't learn really anything new. You won't bring anything new into your routine or into how you live and even who you are. You just kind of transplant yourself and everything about you somewhere else, and nothing changes. This happens because you have not consciously perhaps chosen everything about that experience. Just observe those around you and watch how many people have things happen to them in life. And then they can go, oh, woe is me. Why do I have such bad luck? Why does everything bad happen to me? All of this sort of thing. But a lot of it happens just because they are not consciously aware. They just allow everything around them, everything in life to happen to them. Well, they remain oblivious as to the fact that they are attracting it, and their perception helps to create most of their reactions. And when that perception is misguided from lack of mindfulness, then there's a tendency to live in a mindless, unconscious state of contraction. The relationship between mindfulness and expansion is clear. When we are mindful, we live with a greater sense of expansion. And when we are mindless, because we haven't attained mindfulness yet, we have a tendency to live in more of a state of contraction. When we are mindful and living in the state of expansion, we have a tendency to be truly living fully engaged. But when we lack that, when we are in a state of mindlessness, a state of contraction, then it is clear to understand that we are merely existing. How then can we interact with this? How can we incorporate this idea into our lives? Well, obviously, going through the formal practices to attain mindfulness is of the utmost importance. But besides that, you can reflect on your experiences, maybe from today, or if you're listening to this in the morning, reflect upon your experiences of the previous day and look at the different things you experienced. Were you mindful of what you were doing, or were you mindless, just going with the normal day-to-day routine, going through the motions, as they say? Take a look at those experiences. Even if you say, no, I was mindful of this experience, I was consciously aware of this experience I wanted to do, so I went out and did it. Fantastic. Then take a look at that experience. In what ways did it allow you to expand? This is how we examine all of our experiences to understand whether we are expanding or contracting through our experiences. This is something that I watch for in my life very carefully. For instance, a lot of times the ordinary mind has a tendency to really cling to the past, all kinds of past things, right? We always hear of the person who is in their 40s or 50s or whatever, and they're still holding on to the glory days of high school when they were on the football team or the basketball team or whatever, right? And they have a tendency to cling to the past, maybe to people in their past, maybe to events and experiences in their past. And by doing so, they are contracting. They're going backwards. The past is backwards. Okay? That's not expansion. That is contraction. And we have the same idea with people, and we get this quite often where people are telling us, I live vicariously through you. And that's fantastic. But what's even better is if they were to actually go out and have these expansive experiences themselves. Because when you're not doing that, your experiences are still having this profound effect upon your life. The experiences are what make up our life, from this experience to this experience to this experience, from day to day to day. That is our life. Those are the moments of our life. And we only get so many of these moments. So I am encouraging everyone to live each one of those moments to the fullest, with a sense of mindfulness, with conscious awareness in an expansive way. So maybe each evening before you go to bed, look back upon the day and the experiences you had. Did you have anything new and exciting? Did you have anything that you consciously created as an experience? Or did you not? Did you lack that? It shows you that, most of the experiences that day were more of a state of contraction. And this is perhaps a habit, an unconscious habit, that we need to break. We want to take charge and take control of our life and consciously make expansive experiences. Now, if you had an experience that was very expansive, then reflect upon that and rejoice in the expansion that it gave you. In what ways did you expand because of that? How did it influence you in your life? How did it take you out of your comfort zone? What did you learn? What benefits did you give? What ways did it allow you to expand? When we become more clear on this, we can truly become the architects of our own experiences. One observation that I made, especially throughout the pandemic here, it was happening before that anyway, but it seemed to accelerate itself, is the way people are living. I saw people, and for some of it, we were forced for a period of time to do so, which is what caused the acceleration of it. But it was happening before even the pandemic, to where people were having this tendency to no longer look at other people or speak to other people or want to interact with other people. They were just buying a dog or a cat or multiple pets and then hiding away in their home with those pets. It doesn't take a lot to see how that is an extremely contracting way to live. Instead, we should be out in the world. We should be experiencing things. We should be interacting with other people, talking to our neighbors, speaking to people that we may not even know, saying thank you or have a great day or whatever we can to interact. We are made to interact with one another. When we go out and we interact with others, and not all interactions are going to be what we might perceive as positive, and that's okay. It's still an interaction. Ideally, we would like those to be as positive as they possibly can, but as we know, that just isn't the way of things. Duality is this type of reality. So therefore, there will be pleasant and some unpleasant things. Once you accept that, it's okay. But if we're out there and we're having these wonderful interactions with people, we can try and help other people. We can, just smile and talk to them for a moment, tell them to have a great day or whatever it is. And maybe try a new restaurant, try some new foods, try something new, get out and have a new experience. Then we are living in a state of expansion. From my own personal experiences with this, I reflect quite often on my life. And I look back and I look to see if I'm living in a state of expansion. And for the greater part, I look back at all of the places I've been, all of the incredible people that I have met, and all of the absolutely amazing experiences that I have had. After this sort of reflection, I can feel my heart opening, filled with gratitude, filled with deep appreciation, knowing that I have lived. I've actually lived. When we are too afraid to go out in the world and have experiences, when we are ruled by fear, fear causes us to contract and hide. When we can be free of that fear, then we can live and we can have a truly expansive experience in life. Yeah, sometimes I break a bone. Sometimes I get bruised up from what I'm doing. And that's okay. Sometimes there are situations that are a little scary or even dangerous. That's life. That's life. Life is not meant to be safe. When we focus so much on safety, we're afraid of getting hurt at all or anything bad happening to us. Whenever we live under that fear, we are in a constant state of contraction. You are not living your life, and you are certainly not living it anywhere near to the fullest. While I reflect upon the experiences of my past, I'm still constantly having new experiences, and I am consciously aware of making sure that those experiences offer a sense of expansion. Here's another way to understand experiences in this threefold manner that I usually teach. And I hope you find this interesting. I do. So if we look at the first way, this is very, very common. The way that people drive their car. And they have tires on that car. And many people just keep driving. They drive, and then one day the tires are pretty bald or steel belt starts to pop out and they get a flat tire. And it just devastates them, ruins their day. How could this happen to me? Why now? I can't believe this would ever happen. And then they're in a bad mood all day, and this is an example of when life is happening to you, when you are unconsciously going through life and it is happening to you. Then we have someone who is conscious. This is a person who has more mindful. They're mindful about the tires. They keep track of the amount of tread on them. They look at the wear and tear, and they are more consciously aware of when they need to replace the tires, and they replace them before they ever have a flat tire. So they don't get a blowout. And when the tires get bad, when they start getting worn, they replace them. It's a very mindful thing to do. This adds to a more expansive sense of experience. But there's a third type of experience, and this is what makes life interesting, depending on how you want to look at it. This is the unknown. This is the unknown variable in life, where I could have brand new tires and maybe I pick up a nail on the road. Maybe the tire had an unforeseen flaw and the tire blows out and I get a flat tire. See, there's always that little chance of the unknown something happening. Then it's a matter of how you respond or react to the situation. A person without mindfulness, a person who is in a state of contraction, and when something like that happens to them, they will react. And it's generally a negative reaction. And they hold on to that negative reaction all day long. However, a more mindful, consciously aware person living in a more expansive state of mind, with more expansive experiences, they will respond to it. They'll handle the situation, they'll change the tire, they'll get it replaced, and they'll go on about their business without it impacting them negatively. We have the conscious choice to either react or respond to all of the experiences in our life. And this, too, gives us a greater sense of empowerment for the experiences of our life. When was the last time you consciously created an experience in your life? And was that experience a sense of contraction or expansion? And in what ways? When we become far more consciously aware, totally clear on these aspects of all the experiences we have in our life, then we can start to understand the important role that experience plays in our lives. From a spiritual perspective, we may reflect on experiences, whether they are expansion or contraction in nature. We may look at them and say, well, those things really don't happen to our conscious awareness. No, but our conscious awareness is experiencing through these experiences. And that is how we spiritually expand. That's part of the reason we are here. That's part of what is happening. So when we awaken, when we are mindful, when we are in a state of expansion, these things do indeed have an effect on us in that realm of spirituality, of conscious awareness. And it is this that we take with us once we pass from this life. It is important for us to pay attention to our experiences and to learn how to create experiences in our life. When you are living in a state of expansion and all of your experiences, at least the majority of them, are expansive in nature, then you will have a tendency to understand what it is to be living fully engaged. And through grasping all of the various aspects of expansion and contraction that I'm sharing in this series, you will have a greater capability to move towards mastering your own expansion. Please visit me at www.expansionmastery.com. You can check out autographed books and some audio programs, all kinds of stuff there. Go check it out. It's a very pleasing site. It's very nice. And also do what you can to support us. All the shares, likes, subscribes, all of that stuff they have on social media, all that stuff matters, and all of that stuff helps us greatly. Until next time, my friends, I wish you the very best in your experiences, your expansive life, and your practices. Take care.